What's up, everybody? Hope you guys' beekeeping's going good. Today, I do hive checks. It's the middle of December. It's about 37 degrees. I'm just going to pop them up and see how heavy they feel. And I open fed them a couple weeks ago when it was nice and warm. They're already they're, I don't know, half full of food, I would say. Their brood nests are. Last time I checked them. But I brought out about 200 pounds of syrup for them. Left them all the buckets to clean out good. On top of doing food checks for the winter, some of these girls, all this equipment I built myself, and I haven't quite really put any serious effort into making entry reducers. Some of these have good entry reducers, but some of them I just took some 1-bys and shoved in there, you know. So I'm going to try and get them mouse proofed, because you know the way them little boogers are, they get in there and make a mess. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, let's get after it. Alright, I'm going to cut some of these entry reducers down. Turns out I only need 4. I thought I needed more than that. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hives with good entry reducers. They're just like that. There's a bee right there. She must be trying to cool down. Hopefully that's the case. I had to switch gloves. See if I can get this to work. Come on. Flip my camera around. I had to switch gloves. These are not technically beekeeping gloves. I taped the backs of my knuckles just in case they decide to get stingy with me. But since there's only 4 hives that need entry reducers, I don't think they'll get too ornery on me, especially since it's cold. So anyways, I'm gonna get all these marked, use my zip tool. I'm just gonna cut them 3/8 of an inch short of this rim right here that the box is sitting on. That way mice can't get in there. So I did all my hives last year, and they overwintered quite well. There was no shortage of ventilation for them, having that small of a hole. So let me get all these cut and installed real quick. Okay, here's hive number 1. Let's see what they do. Oh, already coming out. Okay, they really don't like that. Several. I mean, I don't know why I'm being antsy per se. I mean, I don't have my suit on. But, maybe I'll start the other end and give these girls a break for a second. Because I just cut that piece right here in front of them. I'm not on the hive vibrating it or anything like that. But let's go down here. Because I do not have my suit with me. Let's see what they do. Hopefully they don't have all this stuff propolized really bad. Pop that out. Get a little pry on there. That one there's fairly wide. I'm just going to leave these out here this next season. I'm not seeing any activity here. Hopefully that's not a sign that the hive's dead. We can find that out real quick. Okay. I see him in there. I don't think the camera's picking them up, but I can see bees crawling around in there. So let's leave them alone, I reckon. Let them stay nice and warm. That hole there is 3/8 of an inch wide. They'll keep mice out and still give them plenty of ventilation. So, on to this one. that first hive we popped open earlier, this past spring and winter, that was the meanest hive I've had in my life so far. They're actually more docile right now than they were a year ago, because they had to requeen themselves this spring. But holy cow, you couldn't get within 30 feet of that hive hardly last winter. When I was trying to give them vaporization treatments with OA, they would come out with a vengeance. I know there's bees in this hive because I just saw one crawling around. But all right, there's 2 done. Those both have good entry reducers. There's a box out here for shims or entry reducers this next year or whatever. There's a little bit of a entry reducer there. That's more for during summertime. Okay, let's see what these ornery girls down here want to do or don't want to do. I'm almost half tempted to just leave that one in there and push it back in there with a new one. I can hear their wings right now. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but maybe I'll just pop this out. There's some propolis. There's a bee. Okay. They're still ornery. My gosh. Probably not a good thing that my phone is black, per se. It gives them something to aim at in my hand. I think I'm just going to get the quick rip out. Yep. About 5 bees buzzing around. Now, I can block you guys just like that. So, you'll better find your way back in there. You're going to freeze to death. It is like 37, 38 degrees out here, so. That entry reducer is installed. Installation complete. Okay. Now, let's try this one out. Hopefully they're not quite as mean or ornery, defensive, whatever you want to call it. That will not be a hive that I tip back, because that's one of those hives, if you tip it... Why is that one so short? Oh, that's the one I want, not this one. This is a drop. I'm just going to leave out here this next season. You know, whenever you're... Okay, there's a bee. Very good. There's bees in there. Okay. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Got a 3/8 gap there. For ventilation, there is a hair gap right here. Probably a 32nd of an inch to I can just barely get my hive tool in there. So it's probably about a 1/16 of an inch. And that'll give them a little bit of extra ventilation, but it will keep the mice out. Very good. Well, I reckon, which hive should I tip back? See, number 5, right there in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was a really good queen. I've got a bee on there for breeder queen. I could have worked them, now I didn't take any video of it, but I probably could have worked them barehanded this past September and October. They were so chill. And they requeened themselves this year. I took the old queen over by my house in my yard over there, and she's still laying eggs. Maybe not right now since it's December. They may be shutting off, but definitely a breeder queen. Make a nice, whenever you look at their frames, it has that like perfect kind of rainbow arch on their brood nest, filled full of pollen like all year long. It didn't change. They kept the brood nest with that rainbow shape on their brood frames. It was amazing. And that's what you want. You want them to keep food in there. And yeah, I reckon I'll start with this one, tipping it back, just to see how heavy they are. Because this next week it's supposed to be in the 60s a couple days. That'd be an opportune time to get them heavied up, being this late in the season. Typically, though, this last year, I started making candy boards and put them on top of the hives in January, typically. Now look at all those girls right there. You go, girls. As you can see, I've got reflectix in there. You see how chill they are? I mean, it's December, and it's freezing cold for a bee, and they're just chilling. But this year, I've got a 3/4 inch rim on my lids I built. This is 3/4 inch Advantech. I put a 3/4 inch rim on here so I can feed pollen patties easily. I can put them in there, and the bees can police the entire top and bottom of the patty and keep the beetles out of it. So we got small hive beetle, just like almost everybody else does anymore. But yeah, those feeder boards I built, the candy boards I'm talking about, are basically just like the ones that David Burns builds and sells, and they work great. Every one of these hives got one last year, and this one here ate 1.5. The rest of them only ate 1. So I'm really hoping that that's about the same case this year, because if I pull them off, I'll show you guys later, but I've got a piece of 3/4 inch, about the same thickness as this Advantech lid is. There's 3/4 here, then there's the shim on the bottom of it, 3/4 inch here. But I've got a 3/4 inch piece of foam inside of the rim of the feeder boards I'm talking about, and then the candy gets poured on top of that insulation, so the candy absorbs any moisture coming out of your hive through that hole right there, basically. Softens the candy up, keeps the moisture away, and the top of your hive is insulated as well, so that keeps all your moisture issues at bay. And they work really good. The only thing is, if your hives are light, I haven't had this happen to me yet, but if your hives are really light, you may have to pull them off and, you know, reload them again, which wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you're up north, can't get my gloves to work, but if you're up north, the northern part of the states, and you don't have an extra set, you know, like 2 per hive basically, so you can keep one on the hive at all times, that could maybe be an issue. But if you get them loaded up, if they eat all the candy off of them, and they, you know, you can get them off the hive and get them back on them the same day or even the next day or whatever, I don't think that would be too much of an issue. So we're gonna tip this hive back, see what they look like. Hopefully I don't get poked. Come on. Okay. The entrance, obviously in the front. I'm gonna try and tip the back of them up. Okay. Oh my. Oh, look at them girls. Very good. That was rather heavy, I'm not gonna lie. Let's pick them up one more time just to get an idea, better idea. I would say that box weighs probably 70 pounds altogether. So I'd say they probably got about 50 pounds of food, if I had to guess, between the weight of the lid. Yeah, very good. I'm actually, I wouldn't say impressed, but I'm satisfied with that for now. Decent sized cluster. It's chilly. I mean, they're clustered up in there, you can see. So pull this brick off of here, get that extra weight off maybe. Give them a little pry there. Let's see, it's a pretty small cluster there. But I've also been thinking about giving them a pollen patty. I don't know if that'd spell disaster. Maybe not. But for that size cluster there, that felt plenty heavy. Well, might as well go it on through here. Felt fairly heavy as well. Oh yeah. Good girls. For those of you who watch beekeeping videos, I'm sure you can take a guess where I got the idea of making 2 hive pallets like this with clips. You know, a ton of commercial guys use them, but I'll give you a hint, he's Canadian. Oh, good girls. All right. They all feel about the same weight so far. I'm happy with that. I gave them a couple of 100 pounds of food. I have to do some thinking here for a second. It wasn't quite 2 to 1 sugar syrup, but it was 1.5, maybe a little heavier than that. See, I used 30, I think I used 30 pounds of sugar in each bucket. And then, golly, 16 pounds of water. No, I'm sorry. I used 20 pounds of sugar. Yeah, it was 20 pounds of sugar and 12 pounds of water, if I remember correctly. So, and each bucket had 32 in it. So yeah, right at almost 200 pounds of sugar syrup. These girls here are so ornery. I'm not gonna mess with them because I don't want to get boiled. They're almost just like the hive last year. They just come right out of the box as soon as you touched anything in the cold. They didn't care what the temperature was. So I'm just gonna assume y'all are too ornery to die, so I'll have to split them next spring, and they're gonna swarm on me. Like, you all know what I'm talking about. Ornery girls. And then I'll put this up here so I don't lose it. Like a hive tool, but a lot more expensive. You don't want to lose that out here in the leaves. See, we did number 5. All right, here's number 6. Give him a little pop it like it's hot. Oh yeah. Good girls. That might be the heaviest hive yet. Bricks on top of it, but the other one, I left the bricks on a couple of them other ones down there, and I think that one's got an extra 10 pounds on them than the rest of them so far. Little pop, little pop. Okay, what we got? They don't look too bad. Look at here. See where the moisture is? All the way out in the corner. That's what you want. You want your moisture to not be on top of the cluster. You want it on the insides of the box or on the bottom board. Preferably no moisture, but at the same time, ooh, this one's heavy. Look at them girls. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Those look nice and healthy. Let's see here. You want all your moisture, like I said, to be on the outside. That way, if they do get thirsty and they can't leave the hive because of the temperatures, they have something to get some sort of water from. You just don't want it raining down on top of them from your lid, being freezing cold, and the heat of the hive coming up and condensating on it. All right, number 9, I'm gonna assume they're fairly heavy for them. They're tightened up in there though. A decent sized cluster. That hive right there had 1 frame of bees in it back in March or late February this year. And we went through this yard and did some equalizing. And I would say around mid-March. And this hive had 4 honey supers on top of it by the middle of May, I'm wanting to say. They grew incredibly fast. It was unbelievable. It was actually my first spring being able to experience having bees over winter and then doing swarm control and equalizing and all that stuff, you know, to keep your hives roughly the same size before the nectar flow starts. I mean, it was amazing how fast they grew. Just from 1 frame of bees. I put 1 frame of capped brood in there from one of these hives down here. And I mean, they just took off. It was amazing. Anyways, let's put this last hive back. Let's see what these girls look like. Oh yeah. Look at there. Oh yeah. Very good. Okay. I'll call that a successful check. In case y'all didn't know, your winter bees can live up to 6 months, if not longer in some places. So around here, they will probably start rearing brood, gosh, in mid-February maybe. I mean, they'll keep a little bit, maybe in the center of the cluster if they got a good-sized cluster, but on average, I would say they start rearing brood mid-February, just getting started a little bit, just replace some of those older bees that might be dying off. But wow, happy to see all these girls are pretty heavy feeling. Get these back on my metal here. Should probably take them with me, but I don't want to right now, so I'm not gonna bring them. It's all galvanized metal anyway. Any of the rust that you saw in there was from formic, so if y'all use formic, you know why. You can see the pads outline on them basically, so stuff's harsh on equipment. Some of these, I'll show you. Some of these, oh, look there. Go girls. See how nice and happy those girls are? But these foamies that I put on here, they like to, the formic is so harsh on this aluminum or whatever they use on them. That's a a Swiffer pad, just so you all know, that try and catch beetles. But these kind of delaminate if you use formic with these on the hive. So be mindful of that. It doesn't really bother me that much because they're so cheap. I have a huge roll of that stuff, so I can make more if as needed. But I mean, that stuff just makes a great thin layer of insulation to keep the cold lid off the top of your bees, basically, and condensating. I've got that hole in the center so I can feed them, but that lets a little bit of that heat up here, you know, provides a little bit of ventilation. That's another thing I do too on my feeder boards. I drill a 3/8 hole. Pretend this is the front here of my feeder board. I just drill a hole right there about 3/8 wide with a 3/8 drill bit to give them a little bit of ventilation, and if we get snow, they have an upper entrance that way. So another nice thing about this Reflectix stuff, let's look at this one here. Gosh, can you tell I haven't been in my hives in a while and I'm like having withdrawals almost? That's one good, I mean, that's one thing about winter. I can hear their wings, they're just not up here. It's one thing about winter, I guess. It just gives you a break, gets you all amped up for springtime, start playing with your bees again. But can't really dig through your hives this time of year per se, so it's not depressing. It's just something you want to do if you're, you know, if you love beekeeping, I guess. Always want to be in the hive looking at things, working on your bees and such. I don't remember what the heck I was going to tell you guys now. I feel like I'm rambling. Oh yeah, so this Reflectix, whatever you want to call it, there's some girls. Hello ladies. Anyways, this Reflectix makes a good seal all the way around the perimeter. You can see how like the outline is smashed down from the lid. You can see the rim, the 3/4 inch rim I've got on my lids. Oh yeah, that way I can, like I said, feed them. And probably, I think they're honestly tall enough to give them a Thymol treatment in the spring or the summertime too, because I can pull that Reflectix off there, get it off there, and then there'll be, see, 3/4 on the lid, and then I think there's 3/8. Your frames sit down from the top of the box 3/8, so that gives you over an inch basically to give them a Thymol treatment if you want to use Thymol for mite control. So that's why I put the rim on. Oh gosh, what was that? Thought something jumped on my leg there for a second like a rat. Anyways, yeah, it makes a great seal on your lids. And then, like I said, I put those feeder boards up here. I'll show them to you later. I'm going to actually get some foam. I just built another 36 of them. So I got to put foam on the inside of them still, but that Reflectix, I keep sidestepping. Makes a good seal on your lid. As you can see, that lid isn't perfectly flat down on it. that Reflectix seals to that box. It keeps the drafts out. Put the rock back here again. There we go. And whenever I put that feeder board on top of that Reflectix, there will be no draft because it'll sit down on, it's basically like a gasket. So it works very good. I've used just plywood or wooden top covers. Gosh, what am I wanting to say? Went blank. Inner covers. Okay. I've used those kinds of inner covers and they work great, and they're, time tested or whatever, but I like these better. They're flexible, they don't weigh nothing, and they make a better seal. Last year I had these hives. Once I put my feeder boards on top of them, my candy boards, I didn't have this equipment done. I was using old used equipment, and there was gaps all over the place. And I thought, uh-oh, it's gonna make these bees freeze to death, basically, if we get a hard north wind, and it's just blowing, even a 1/16 of an inch. That's a big gap on a beehive. That's gonna let a lot of ventilation occur, but if it's freezing cold with a 30 or 40 mile an hour north wind, you don't want that blowing into your hives and freezing your bugs. So I like it a lot. It's proven itself to me. So, having said that, well, later, I am very pleased that my hives are fairly heavy enough. I may give them a little something to do. I put, I don't even think they found it yet, which I'm really surprised. I put them a little yum yum right here, some protein powder, pollen substitute. They haven't found it. I think I may go ahead and take this off here and put it in the open feeder, and then I'll run out here whenever it's nice and warm, give them some sugar syrup just to give them some extra food, give them something to do while they're all packed away in there. So anyways, love y'all, happy beekeeping. I'll see y'all later.